Good morning, Kunal. Good morning, Aditya. Good morning, Chandrasekhar. Good morning, Vedant. Good morning, Ritesh. Good morning, Rahul. Good morning, Atharv. Good morning, Aryan. Good morning, Om Prakash. Good morning, Vedant. Good morning, Ratnadeep. Let's recap. Good morning, Pratham. Okay, Akshay. Don't worry, Uddhav. See, we have started looking into the land revenue systems. Prior to that, we had considered the draining of Indian wealth by Britishers or to England. And then later on again, as one of the ways of the revenue collection, we have considered the land revenue systems. So there had been three different kinds of land revenue systems. Very first system was permanent settlement, which was also called as Sthayi Bandobast. Further, you can call it as Istamarari. It was introduced in Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, and some districts of Banaras as well as Madras. It was introduced by Lord Cornwallis in 1793. Okay. So keep in mind some districts of Banaras and Madras, because in Madras, you will be having another kind of system of revenue collection. Okay. So you can consider it is in the Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, and some districts of Banaras and Madras. Okay. So this is what you can consider Sthayi Bandobast. Okay, thank you. I hope who had kept his audio open must have put it off. If not, everyone needed to put your audio off. Fine. This is owners of the land, right? Owners of land, and they would be they could keep 1 by 11th of the revenue collected, right? So the job of revenue collection is of zamindars, and for collecting revenue, zamindars were keeping 1 by 11th of the revenue collected, and remaining 10 by 11th revenue was being submitted to the Britishers, right? So in this way, British got fixed amount of revenue, that is 10 by 10th, but there had been a flexibility, right? That the zamindars were free to fix the rates. Sometimes zamindar feel that this time you have to increase a kind of increase the revenue, and they would be submitting 10 by 11 of whatever they have collected to government. So obviously their 1 by 11 would be increased, because basically they have increased the revenue on the peasants or tenants. And because of this, there had been assurance to zamindars that their ownership is there, right? And therefore they will not lose a kind of any kind of revenue, right? And because of that, many of these zamindars have stayed in towns, right, and exploited their tenants.
Okay, probably the problem of breaking a sound might be okay. So I hope you will be hearing it clearly. Zamindars had assured income, right? They had assured their ownership, and because of that, uh, wherever they could live, that doesn't affected their revenue collection, right? And therefore, most of the zamindars had stayed in the town, right? So, and because of that, they have exploited their tenants, right? Now, this is the first system which was being introduced in Bengal, Orissa, Bihar, and some districts of Madras and Banaras. Later on, in another provinces, another system had been introduced, and the name of that system called Rayatwari system, which was basically introduced in Bombay and some districts or the remaining districts of Madras province. So it was basically recommended by Viceroy Munro and the Charles Reed. It was recommended by Munro and Charles. Now, this is a direct settlement between cultivators. There had been no zamindars in between cultivator or peasants and government. So this is so there had been direct relationship between cultivators and government. Now, revenue collected by the peasants was fixed for a certain period, and there was upper cap, that is, it should not exceed 30 years. See, 30 years itself is a huge span, and in this system, you can consider this system had a rigidity, right? And rigidity was not useful, because in some other year, or sorry, in between some time era, you would be losing your crop, you will be having very less yield, and since revenue was already fixed, you will be you have to pay that much fixed amount of revenue. So again, it is not justifying. So this was rigid, but it was always being fixed depending on soil and the nature of the crop, again not on the actual produce or the yield, right? So depending on the quality of soil as well as the nature of the crop. But this particular system was completely based on a scientific theory called Ricardo. So in this case, the position of cultivator become more secure. But as I said, there was a rigid system. Because of that, the cultivators forced into clutch of money lenders, because there was the what you can consider direct cash transactions, or the revenue was being paid in the money in the form of cash, right? So you can consider the another point you can consider here, as like zamindars were free to fix the revenue, here government was fixed to government was free to fix the revenue, right? So because of this, the seat of office, depending on the mercy of the officers of companies, always left, right? There otherwise, for the fixed amount of revenue was fixed, that has to be paid, right? And then third system, which was basically zamindari settlement, or you can consider as the Sthai Bandobast, right? And it was being introduced in the valleys of Ganga, right? So Ganges Valley, central India, as well as in the Punjab, right? So in these territories, this Mahalwari system had been implemented, right, or introduced. Now, revenue settlement made by village or estates with the landlords, right? So now this is more common or more closer to the peasants, because right, group of the peasants itself was deciding the collection to be paid, right? So in this case, the village communities were maintaining the common ownership, right? And there had been a advantage of peasant shetkari akshay, peasants shetkari, right? So there had been a provision of periodical review, right? So it was not a that much a rigid system. So periodically you can review, and according to that review you can change the revenue to be paid. So what kind of impact this land revenue system had made? Basically on the positions of the peasants, as well as the revenue collected by different provinces, and consequently on the British and Britishers, right? So the introduced this land revenue system had basically introduced the market economy, and it did away with the customary rights, right? So in early era, there had been not that much value to the market economy, right? So now it had shifted into the or introduced market economy. So cash payments were there, and therefore it had encouraged money lending activities, right? And it is obvious that wherever cash is there, there is great probability that the money lending activities would be always there. It had sharpened the social differentiation in the society, right? Because of these systems, right? So obviously, some of peasants must be paying very less amount of uh, revenue, right, depending on their farm, right? Whereas some would be paying it greater, right? And already those who are collecting it, that would be different class. It was being submitted to another kind of class. So automatically this had been, and this had become a point of sharpening the social differentiation in the society. And because of that, or the best examples is that rich had access to the court, but poor cannot access the court, right? Because of the fees and obviously their status, right? And because of that, you know what had happened? The stability of villages which had shaken, and the entire setup of the rural society began to break up. So it is worst kind of impact you can consider. Another point is in this uh, heading you can consider, that is the peasants were forced to grow the commercial crops, and in order to grow the commercial crops they had again forced to buy the grains, right? बियाणं खरेदी करण्यासाठी buy the grains, right? And that grains were being sold out at very high prices, whereas the crop by the peasants were buy at very low prices. So this kind of crops had created differentiation, right? So this is what you can consider about the system which are called the Rayatwari, which are called the land revenue system, right? See, prior to that we have considered whatever may be the revenues being collected which were being used for the spendings, particularly salaries, home allowances, then the pensions, as well as buying the goods, right, from the Indian market, and under a title of investment, right? So in this way it was being drained, and the flow in that particular treasury, particularly called Indian treasury, was in this way, right? So you have to be consider these points whenever you consider the revenue system is there. And therefore there have been different kinds of the rewards which you can call as the peasant movements, been civil as a result of all these revolts, right? Then later on the socio-religious movements have been started, right? Socio-religious movements have started. Now, what were different kinds of important socio-religious reformers, right? So that would be the point of this session we can consider. Now, so important socio-religious reformers. Guaranteed question on this, right? Every time you will be so important socio-religious Socio-religious reformers. Now see, there had been various socio-religious reformers, right? So very first title I can consider here is Swami Sahajanand, right? Swami Sahajanand. So originally he was called as Ghansham, right? Who had founded Swaminarayan sect, which was in Gujarat. So he believed, rather, the Swaminarayan sect was believing in the theistic God and prescribed a moral code for the followers, right? So very first thing you can consider, that is Swami Sahajanand, right? See what kind of question, what he had founded, right? So which of the following is founded by Swami Sahajanand? So obviously answer would be the Swami, right? Swaminarayan Panth. Where it had been established or where it had been founded, it had been founded. That would be the point. So see, factual questions this would be a question of the factual questions, right? And probably two questions can be possible, right? One is the what exactly founded and where it had found, right? So this would be the point you can consider about the Swami Sahajanand. So first reformer is Swami Sahajanand. Swami Sahajanand. Now you can also call, right, rather originally, right, its original name was Gyan Sham. Gyan Sham, right? So he found it, the Swami Narayan sect. And then in Gujarat, where it had in Gujarat, right? So you can consider the very first reformer in the form of Swami Sahajanand, right? So Swami Sahajanand, Swaminarayan sect in Gujarat. So these three words always keep in mind, right? You have to remember these things. Later on, there had been Rajaram Mohan Roy, right? Many a times you must have heard this particular name, Rajaram Mohan Roy. Now, he founded Atmiya Sabha. He founded Atmiya Sabha in Calcutta, right? When it was being established, it was established in 1815, right? So Raja Mohan Roy established or founded Atmiya Sabha in Calcutta in 1815. What was the purpose of establishing or founding such kind of sabha, right? So he wanted to propagate monotheism and reforms in the Hindu society, right? His main aim was to bring the reforms in Hindu society, right? So by aiming the reforms, so Atmiya Sabha was later on named as Brahmo Sama, right? Later on, it was named as Brahmo Sabha, and finally it was termed as Brahmo Samaj in 1828, established in 1850, right? 1815, and in 1828 it had been converted or it had been emerged as Brahmo Samaj. So what was the main task of this one? So Brahmo Samaj had launched a movement for the abolition of sati. So when did sati started? Right. So we had gone through that during Gupta period. You had very first time come across sati, right, in Madhya Pradesh, and that is in the I think 6th century, sorry, 3rd century, right, AD. And then now in 19th, basically 18 something, so 19th century, right, there had been the first point or the first movement to abolish this particular, right, system. So it had launched the movement for abolition of sati. And for that purpose, they have published a journal, right? Regularly, they have started publishing a journal that is called the Shabad Kaumudi. The name of journal was Shabad Kaumudi, right? And they have already started before converting it into Brahmo Samaj, right? That was in 1819. Fine. So this is what you can consider: Rajaram Mohan Roy, Atmiya Sabha, Brahmo Sabha, Brahmo Samaj, Calcutta, and Sati, right? And purpose was to bring the reforms in Hindu society, right? So that would be the problem. I think who was there, Uddhav? If you are not clearly seeing the paper, right, or the page, don't worry about it. Once a while I finish the complete page, I can take its screenshot and share it so that you will not have any kind of problem with the clarity. Fine. So second one is Rajaram Mohan Roy. Ram Mohan Roy. Rajaram Mohan Roy. He found it. Atmiya Sabha. Atmiya Sabha. Right. In 1815 in Calcutta. In Calcutta, today's Kolkata. Purpose is to propagate, right? Sorry, to reform, right? To reform, to propagate reforms. I think I should write propagate. Okay, to reform the Hindu society, right? Or to bring reforms, to propagate reforms in the Hindu society, right? And what kind of reforms? Very first example, that is abolition of sati, right? Sati chaal band karne. So Hindu, or in the to bring the reforms in the Hindu society, right? So Atmiya Sabha was it named as Brahmo Sabha. Excuse me. It named as Brahmo Sabha, right? And finally,